According to Jewish tradition, there is more than one world. In fact, there are 4 worlds. So, and I'll just, give you the briefest encapsulation about these worlds. Emanation, creation, formation, and action. In Hebrew, Atzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. So all of these worlds are overlapping and are all here and all present at the same time in the material world. We may not think about them, but yet they are all present. So in the world of action, which is the most dense of the worlds, that's the world where you and I function perhaps most frequently, most easily, most readily. Yetzirah is said to be the world of the angels. And Bria, the world of the fiery ones, or the fiery angels. Atzilut is perhaps the most closest part to God, but yet again, let me give you another slide to sort of give this in a different kind of look. All right, so we have all of these worlds in our reality, all at the same time. And perhaps which one are we tuned into? So, first, of course, they're the good ghosts. How many watched Casper when they grew up? Okay, so Casper's like our sort of quintessential good ghost. Well, within Judaism, we also have this notion of, quote, good ghosts. And they come in the form of, in Hebrew, the term is ibor. And perhaps this is a soul that is in the world to come. Our kind of terminology for the life after this life is olam haba, or the world to come. And maybe this soul maybe didn't complete everything that they needed to complete, so they kind of come and hang around with living folk, okay? But it tends to be done not necessarily often in a conscious fashion. Maybe they're just kind of along for the ride. That might be one way to look at it. So, and all of these thoughts, please know that in whatever I'm telling you, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. So this is, and it doesn't matter which topic I talk about, there's going to be more than one opinion on this, and one sage who says yes, and one who says no, and one who says maybe. So Judaism is a multivalent culture, religion, and there is often more than one perspective. So there's not just 2 sides of a coin, there's the edge of the coin too. And believe me, the sages over the last couple millennia have talked about all of these things. So this is kind of a rare and special circumstance. Doesn't happen frequently, isn't like on the foremost of everybody's mind. Okay, so, but know that it does exist within our tradition. And there's also some tradition of, quote, bad ghosts. Now, where did I take this picture? Party City. Seriously. That's their Halloween decoration, right? Well, to me, it looked a lot like a, quote, a bad ghost. So in this terminology is called a dybbuk. And this may be kind of a soul that sort of lost its way. There's the classic 1920 play. It was actually a silent film that was done. And Ansky's play called The Dybbuk. And it was about a guy who came back to haunt his fiancée who was getting married to somebody else, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so again, this, and perhaps we all love a good ghost story. So these kinds of things are talked about within our literature. How often or how frequently do they happen? Can we call these kinds of things into our space? I suppose that would be one argument. But remember, all 4 worlds are all concurrently present. Right? So while we in our physical world are right here and we see each other and converse with each other, if these things exist within our environment, we here who are on this living plane, material plane, have quote, the control to send away any kind of stuff or negative whatever that we don't need, right? Just doesn't need to be here. On the other hand, similarly, if there's, you know, our goal, at least within Judaism, is to connect with the one God, and God is a singular entity, a one, a unique oneness like no other oneness. So essentially, I would say there is no fear, there's no worry or need to feel like I need to be protected, because really God is watching. So God, for us, has control over the entire universe at some level. While we do have our free will, still, those things which are negative don't need to be in our space, don't have to be in our space. No requirement. Okay, so let me just sort of wrap those up and send those out. So moving on to the concept of angels. So within Judaism, there is a thought that angels and those not so good guys, angels and demons, are not perhaps at some level so different. I mean, we think about angels as being a messenger who comes and rescues people or does something like that. Somehow they can affect from their world of Yetzirah, not this, you know, Asiya where we normally feel touch, but somehow they can interact and rescue under certain circumstances. We have biblical accounts of Abraham feeding the angels who came to visit him, and certainly angels are within our tradition for many, many millennia. What are they? You know, some people who don't have any belief system with regard to this stuff or this paranormal stuff, yet kind of like the idea of angels. Okay, so great, however that works. And then we have this flip side called demons. Okay, so for us, demons weren't this fallen group that are outcasts and wrestling with God. Instead, they are more like prosecuting attorneys. So in other words, the devil, you know, or Satan, in Hebrew is liston. So when we have the story about Balaam and Balak, and there's this donkey that kind of gets in the way, and the donkey doesn't want to go forward because the donkey sees this angel, you know, in front of it, and then talks, right? Remember the story of the talking donkey? Anybody? Okay, all right. So, thank you. There's a story about a talking donkey somewhere in the Bible. The Hebrew verb for this obstacle is liston, which is the same root as Satan. So an obstacle is kind of how we envision something that is blocking our path. Demons are none other than prosecuting attorneys who come and say, hey, you know, that was a problem, and maybe are coming to sort of like put this into shape, so to speak. So there's also a lovely little midrash, which is like a little story or tale about on Shabbat, and this comes from Talmud. So on Shabbat, on Friday evening, when a person leaves the synagogue and they're coming back home, everything's supposed to be ready and beautiful and lovely, right? So there it's said that there's a good angel and a bad angel, aka okay, so come with that person to kind of peer in the window to see if everything is lovely and ready. And if the bad angel says, oh, look, this person isn't ready really for Shabbat. They don't have like the white tablecloth and the bread and the wine and the whatever, you know, then the good angel has to say, okay, amen, may it, you know, come to pass, whatever, right? But on the other hand, if the person is completely ready for Shabbat and it's lovely and delightful, then the bad angel has to say amen to the good angel's comment. Oh, look, they're ready. Amen. May it be so the next week. So, and anyway, little story about angels and demons. And for us, really, demons are not really the bad guys. They're just doing their jobs. So, and I kind of love this comment by Albert Einstein. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. Okay, so in new agey terms, whatever you call into your space is kind of whatever you get. And if you send it out, send it away, keep your eyes focused on the target and the goal, really you don't have to worry about those kinds of things that are negative. So, I mean, certainly we all, and also I should say, we all deal with tragedy. We all deal with difficulties. And, you know, we think about, for example, Abraham in the Parsha, where he had to offer his son Isaac up on the altar, okay? In that comment, in that piece of biblical phrase, it's God Nisa Avraham. He tested him. Oh my gosh, can I be done with the test now? Okay, so. All right, moving on. Okay, so dealing with this issue about, are there people who are psychic? Do we have people that see visions? Sure. Do they experience what the prophets did? Okay. There's a concept within Judaism called devekut, or being glued to God. Abraham Abulafi, as a matter of fact, was a big proponent of meditation, and in this space of meditation, connecting to God, there are plenty of people who do have that sixth sense, that sense where they can sense the other worlds besides the world that we, you know, believe in. If we understand from a physics standpoint that this table isn't really solid, that from a physics standpoint, this table is actually electrons and neutrons, all that kind of thing, I think that perhaps that's what this kind of comes to teach. And I see that I'm like running over my time.